Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Planetarium show. My name is Jessica. I am the director of the Planetarium, and with me tonight is one of our students, who you've probably seen before if you've been to any of our past streams, but I'll still let him say hi and introduce himself.
I'm a physics and astronomy student at UMD.
So, happy September, everyone. It is officially a new month, which means it's time for our What's Up series. So, we will be taking a look at the astronomical events that are happening throughout the month of September. And then on Saturday, we'll go through the actual stars and constellations. So, this is different than the constellations that are up. We'll talk about that Saturday. All right. As always, if you have any questions throughout the show tonight, you can leave them down in the comments. Eli will keep an eye on that for me. Will let me know as questions come up. Otherwise, let me get everything. Hold on, I have to remember. I gotta do that, and then I do that, and then I do that. Classes have started, and I am brain dead. Okay. So as I said, we're going to be doing What's Up September edition, and the very first thing we have to talk about is one of the major astronomical events on September 22nd is the Autumnal Equinox. So our seasons here on Earth happen because the Earth is tilted by about 23.5 degrees. And so that means during part of the year, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, and being tilted towards the sun means the sun is up higher in the sky, it's out for a longer period of time, and that results in more warming, which leads to warmer weather. For the other half of the year, the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, and we get all the opposite effects. The sun's lower in the sky, it's not out for as long, we don't have as much warming, and therefore we get cold weather. Well, the equinoxes are the 2 times a year where we're basically in transition from tilting towards to tilting away or vice versa. And they're the points in the year where we are neither tilted towards or away. And so the autumnal equinox or fall equinox or September equinox is what happens, our transition between being tilted towards to being tilted away. And what it basically means is because we are neither tilted towards or away, the sun is hitting pretty much directly overhead at the equator. And that means we get roughly an even number of hours of daylight and nighttime, hence equinox, or equal night. We have equal amount of day and night. And for us here in the northern hemisphere, the September equinox marks the start of fall. And so we will have that coming up towards the end of September. We will officially be in fall. I am already celebrating early because as far as I'm concerned, it is Halloween time, and I'm very excited to be getting into all of the fall weather and decorations and Halloween, and yeah, but that's just my preference. All right. So let's take a look at what the moon is doing this month. Of course, it goes through its phases. The first phase we're going to see this month is the new moon, which is coming up on September 6th. About a week later, on September 13th, we have the first quarter. And then about a week after that, on September 20th, we're going to have the full moon. This month, the September full moon is often known as the corn moon. But in this case, the September full moon is also the harvest moon, because the harvest moon is generally the full moon that occurs closest to the fall equinox, which is this full moon. So it is our harvest moon. And then about a week after that, on September 28th, we will have the third quarter. So you can see here those dates. You can also see that they rise and set at slightly different times, and that's why you can sometimes see the moon up during the day, and you sometimes see it up at night. All right, let's take a look at what the planets are doing. So we're going to start off in the evening sky. Just after sunset, we can see both Mercury and Venus up in the west. Now, Mercury is a little bit hard to see right now, but as we get closer to November 14th, it's going to get easier to see because it's going to get further and further from the sun. November 14th actually marks the point of greatest eastern elongation. And so basically what that means is Mercury is going to be at its furthest from the sun. That's the greatest elongation. And by being the greatest eastern elongation, that just means it's on, this side of the sun. And so that's going to be the best time to try and see it is around November 14th. Now, in our case, it is still going to be pretty low in the sky just because of how everything is lined up right now. So if you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of trees, you'll probably be able to see it, but if you have trees and things, it might be too low for that. Venus is also still hanging up in the evening sky. It is still slowly moving out further from the sun as well, although it won't reach its greatest elongation until I believe October is when it'll get there. But the further out it gets from the sun, the easier it's going to be, although it's already quite brilliant. If you go out right after sunset and look west, that first bright point of light that you see kind of low to the horizon in the west, that is the planet Venus. That's why it's often called, the evening star. And a lot of people do mistake it for a star just because of the bright point of light, but that is the planet Venus. Mars, unfortunately, you can see is getting way too close to the sun right now, so we're not going to be able to see that planet. All right, moving a little bit later into the night, Jupiter and Saturn are still hanging out at night. We can see them from after sunset until pretty early in the morning. The best time to see it when it's highest in the sky is going to be closer to between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. On September 17th, 16th and 17th, in particular, I'm showing the 17th here, the moon is going to be hanging out nearby Jupiter and Saturn. So they'll make a nice little triangle in the sky. It can be a fun way to kind of spot the planets because the moon's going to be nearby. Jupiter is very bright. So if you are out and you see a super bright point of light towards the kind of south, brighter than all of the stars around it, and it's not the moon, then that is Jupiter. Jupiter is the second brightest. Venus is the brightest planet in the sky. Jupiter is the second, both being much brighter than the stars around them. Saturn is a little bit harder to pick out because it is about the same brightness as your average star. But it kind of is along the line of kind of Jupiter, Saturn, and the Moon, and you can use that to help you pick it out. Or in the past, we have mentioned a lot of different phone apps that use your GPS to kind of show you what's up in the sky. So you can always use something like that. All right, also up at night are Uranus and Neptune. They can be seen over in the kind of east-southeast sky later in the night. Now, both of these planets are too dim to see with your naked eye. You do have to have a telescope to see them. And when you do use a telescope, they're really going to look like small bluish circles. The best time, though, to try and look at Neptune is going to be this month around September 14th, because that is the point of opposition. And what that basically means is that is when the planet is going to be kind of the closest to the Earth and directly away from the sun. So it's the closest point that the planet is to us this year, and so that's what it's going to be the biggest and the brightest and the easiest to see, but you do still need a telescope to see it. All right, moving on, we have some great International Space Station flyovers coming up kind of in the second half of the month. We do have some in the first half of the month, but they're mostly up in the early morning, which I'm not up then. I know some people are, but I figured I would point out the ones that were going to be up kind of in the evening or at night. So we're going to see a lot of those towards the second half of the month. This is specifically for Duluth. If you're interested in checking out for your own location, the best place to check out when these ISS passovers are going to be is to use the link in the video description called heavensabove.com. It's heavens-above.com. You put in your location and it tells you not just the ISS, but other satellites as well. And so when you look at it, it'll give you like dates and times for when they're going to be there. It'll tell you the brightness. This uses a unit called magnitude, which is what astronomers use to describe brightness. And it's it's kind of a backward system. The smaller the number, the brighter the object. So in this case, you can see here on September 20th at about 8:02, we are going to have a very bright passover of the International Space Station. And if you click on that date, it'll take you to a map which will show you where that ISS is going to fly across the sky. So you can figure out exactly where you need to look, and gives you more information about when exactly it's going to start, when it's going to get its brightest and its highest, and give you all the details you need to know. And you'll get a similar map for any date that you click on. It is important to keep in mind that if you are looking out for the International Space Station or any satellite, you're not going to see anything like this. You're not going to see actual structure or shape to it. You need to have, like a telescope or something to be able to see that. Instead, it's going to look more like a moving point of light. You can see right here, it's going to be this moving point of light that'll get brighter and then dim. So it's not a flash. It's not a constant flash like airplanes have. It is a steady light that'll grow a little bit brighter and then dimmer. And exactly how bright and dim it gets really depends on the specifics of that particular satellite and the passover and all of that. But you're looking for a steady moving light, not a flashing light. All right, one last thing to look out for this month, and this is something that I will have to preface that I've never actually seen. So I had to do a little bit of research today to learn more about exactly what's going on here and the best cases to see it. But apparently around the equinoxes are the great time to see what's known as the zodiacal light. So the zodiac, zodiacal comes from the word zodiac, and you may recognize the zodiac as your zodiac sign. So the zodiac are the kind of 12 constellations that lie along a path on the sky called the ecliptic. And the ecliptic is really just the path that the sun takes across the sky due to Earth's orbit around the sun. And so in the spring and fall, that ecliptic makes a very sharp angle with the horizon. Now, the ecliptic also lays out kind of the plane of our solar system, because our solar system is kind of a thin disk. All of the planets kind of orbit in the same plane around the sun. So all of the planets lie along this ecliptic as well. And not only do we have planets in our solar system, we have a whole heck of a lot of dust in our solar system. And if you were with us for our exploration show 2 months ago, I believe, it might have been a month ago, when we did space junk, we talked about all of the debris that's in our solar system. So what happens during the spring and fall, because this is at such a sharp angle, we actually start to see sunlight that is scattered off of that dust that lies in our solar system. And that scattered sunlight in the fall precedes the rising sun. And so if you go out this month to a super dark location, you can't have light pollution here, and you look east about half an hour before sunrise, you might get lucky enough to see this like triangle wedge of light coming up in the east. And that is that scattered sunlight off of the dust that lies in our solar system. The reason it's best to see it now, again, I said it's because it makes the sharp angle. So that light is able to get above kind of the haze of the horizon. Whereas when this is at a shallower angle, it kind of gets blended in with the haze in the horizon, and it's hard to get through the thick atmosphere. It's easier to see around this time of year. So the best time to try and look for it right now is to go out sometime between now and the full moon on September 20th, because you don't want any moonlight out. And then you can try again in October as well, and we'll talk about that. I can talk about that during October's What's Up and remind you about that. But yeah, we have the Zodiacal Light, but I kind of want to go out and try and see it because I've never seen it. Do watch out to not confuse it with the Milky Way. The Milky Way is going to be more in the south, whereas the kind of triangle of light, that's the Zodiacal Light, is going to be in the east. But yeah, and that is what's up for September. So I've got some planets, a couple of cool things coming out. Equinox, start of fall. I'm so excited. And yeah. All right. Do you have any questions?
Nope, no questions.
Nope. Oh, I forgot to switch back over. There we go. So that I can go look at stuff too. All right, well, if anyone does have any questions, now is a great time to leave them down in the comments. We'll wait a few minutes to see if there are any questions that come through. In the meantime,
we actually just got a question. What's up this week?
So we've got Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn are going to be best seen this week. Mercury, as I mentioned, is going to get better closer to September 14th, because that's when it's going to be furthest from the sun. So go out starting right at sunset. You'll be able to see Venus, and then once it gets darker, you'll be able to see Jupiter and Saturn.
The next question, what and when is the next meteor shower?
Oh, good question. I believe we have a small one coming up in October. But the next big one is going to be the Geminids in December. That's the other, we have kind of two big meteor showers a year. We just had the Perseids, and so the next big one is the Geminids in December. Like I said, I think we have a couple smaller ones.
The Orionids peak on October 20th.
Yeah, so nothing this month. But any of those smaller ones happening in like October or November, we'll talk about at the beginning of those months during those shows. So yeah. But that doesn't mean that you can't see a meteor. Honestly, if you go out and just look at the sky for half an hour, you'll see random meteors in the sky, because as we were just talking about with the Zodiacal Light, our solar system is full of dust, and anytime that dust falls through Earth's atmosphere, it heats up, shines, and we get a meteor trail. So you don't have to have a meteor shower just to see a meteor. You can see them really any night. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about what's coming up over the next week. As I mentioned on Saturday, that's going to be our September constellation show, taking a look at the stars and constellations that will be up this month and some of the stories behind them. Next Wednesday, we are going to look at light and all of the amazing things we can learn about using it, which I wanted to do the show again now, since we just talked about stars in the last exploration show last week. And so this is a good kind of next step. Now that we know stars and a little bit about them, we can then see kind of how we've learned all of this stuff about the stars, how we learn all of this just from the light that comes from these objects. And then next Saturday, we figured it's time for another tour of the solar system. So we're going to go jump in our spaceship and visit the planets. So yeah, that is what we've got going on this month, or not this month, this upcoming week.
So we got another question, why are our solar system planets in the same plane?
That is a good question. And it comes down to how planets form. So if you were in our star show on Saturday, we talked about how stars form from these big gas clouds that start to collapse and condense together. Well, the star's not the only thing that forms in that. The planets form as well. But the gas that's falling in doesn't make it all the way to the star, to the forming star. And instead of staying like a roughly spherical cloud, it actually gets flattened into a disk. Think of like taking pizza dough, and when you spin it, when you throw it in the air, the pizza dough flattens and thins out and stretches out. Well, the same thing happens to this big spinning gas cloud. It gets flattened. And the planets end up forming in that flattened disk. And so they kind of adopt the shape of the cloud or the disk that they formed in. That's a very, very quick version of how that all happens. So, yeah. All right.
All right, just got another one. With all the satellites in space, how often could we be able to see a satellite passing by?
Oh, very often. When we were out for our dark sky caravan a couple weeks ago, we easily saw 15 in a night.
Yeah, one
And
every 10
just,
minutes, at least.
yeah, within just a couple hours of being outside.
Yeah.
The trick is, have dark skies so that you can see them. But if you're staring at the sky, you're going to see quite a few.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's going to be that just steady moving light across the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're very, very common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll say another minute to see if any other questions come in. There have been some really great questions tonight. Should we tease that we are thinking about Halloween?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have started the planning process for our Halloween event this year. We're not quite sure how it's going to look yet. Obviously, we want to make sure that we keep all of our staff and, of course, all of our community that come to the event safe and healthy. And so we're probably going to have a couple of contingency plans, depending on how exactly things are looking. But it's likely to be a similar event that we had last year. So it would be kind of a drive-through event with picking up activity kits and candy and seeing some cool demos from your car. And we'll do pumpkin drops again because I always want an excuse to throw a pumpkin off the roof. I don't know about you, but I certainly enjoyed seeing it go splat. And we have a lot more student staff this year. We just are in the process of hiring quite a few more people, so you might be seeing some new faces on these streams pretty soon. But that also means that hopefully, and I'm not promising anything yet, we can put together more kits than we were able to put together last year, because I will say we underestimated how enthusiastic people were and how many people were going to come out to celebrate Halloween with us. So if you have any suggestions for us, any ideas, let us know. Or if you're excited about the event and want to tell people, you can start telling people that we're starting to plan. And of course, we'll put out details as soon as we have those for you. But there will be a Halloween event in some way, shape, or fashion. Because, like I said, I love Halloween. I'm not going to skip Halloween event. All right. Well, I'm going to take no more questions are coming in, so we will wrap it up there. Thank you everyone so much for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed hearing about what's going to be up in our September skies. Like I said, join us on Saturday to hear about the constellations that are up this month. We are still regularly streaming here Wednesdays and Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central. If there's any show topics that you would like to see that we haven't done before, let us know, because of course we want to do shows that you want to hear about. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Happy September, and we will see you again next time. Bye, everyone.